Hey folks, doing Hero of None here with your Mundus Minute on May 31st, 2019. News, luxury merchant, and golden merchant stuff all in a few minutes. So first up in ESO news, I forgot to mention this last week, and currently there are some writs that are giving double surveys, mostly on blacksmithing, clothing, and woodworking. This is unintended and will be patched, but players are also told you can take advantage of it, so do your writs. Also a reminder, any glitch or bug you find with Elsewhere, report it to the devs. It really helps get these things fleshed out and fixed. And if you don't report it and no one else does, you might be waiting longer than you intended to see something fixed. E3 starts on June 11th, but Bethesda will have this press conference on June 9th, which may have more news for the ESO's next DLC. So stay tuned in for that. You can usually watch these things on Twitch and on YouTube a little bit later. Next, let's go to the luxury merchant and see what's up for sale. So last week we had a bug with the luxury merchant and he wasn't showing up, but it looks like they made up for it this week, giving double rewards. So right now you had a couple Dark Brotherhood items here, the candelabra, the stained glass window, which is actually very nice. I think it's pretty worth it for 100,000. Several tapestries, Night Mother or Sweet Mother door, which is not open, but it's still pretty cool. And we also have a couple statues, Dark Elf statue, another Regatta statue, Justice statue, Order, and Truth, along with the statue base that you can use as well. So now's a good time if you have any statues that you want to get for your house, or you want to get some Dark Brotherhood stuff, get to the luxury merchants. Now, in addition to that, we also have some pretty good items on the Golden Merchant tonight. First up is Spriggan's Ring. Stamina, weapon damage, and adds 3,450 physical damage. Whether you're a PvEer or PvPer, if you have a stamina character, definitely recommend getting this. It's a good amount of physical penetration, which will help you on from things from VMA to standard dungeons to 12-man trials. And it has the most meta set right now for most players. If you're starting out or you're just getting into it, definitely recommend getting it. Gold version as well is very helpful because it will raise up stats with those penetration values. Next is Yggdrasil's necklace for 150. It gives spell critical, magicka, and spell damage, and then 400 damage to your frost abilities. Honestly, not a great set unless you're going to be using an Ice Staff and possibly Warden or Necromancer, but you probably use this more in PvP than you would in PvE. Remember, frost damage from a Frost Staff with the fully charged heavy attack will taunt a boss if you have that first level Trifocus in there. So that's already a negative on that. But that 4,400 spell damage inside PvP could be just what you need. For 250k, you have a Bone Pirate Necklace, which gives you stamina recovery. Sorry, it's a standard stamina recovery robustness here, but stamina recovery, stamina. And when you have a drink buff active, your max stamina is increased by 2,000 and your stamina recovery is increased by 150. Typically, you would pair this off with, apologize while I pull this up here, Dumas Cameron, which gives you additional stamina that you can be working with here. You can see that there. And an additional bit of health. And yeah, it's pretty meta for PvP in general. PvE, typically you wouldn't use that. Just not as useful in certain cases because you could just stack on other buff foods. Sorry. Such as this, which gives you max health, max stamina. And again, you just get better stats out of that. But for PvP, especially for no CP campaigns, this is definitely worthwhile. Gold version, again, so you can get the max benefit out of these stats. And you don't have to grind a dungeon to get this. Typically this comes out of Blackheart Haven. The other one for 250, Agraven's Necklace. Health recovery, healing taken, and when you deal damage while under 50% health, you summon a Preservation of Nature around you for 5 seconds. Any damage you take from enemies outside of the preservation is reduced by 50%. And the first time an enemy tries to enter the preservation, they're knocked back for 5 meters. This effect can occur once every 45 seconds. Honestly, not really a high meta set here, but this is coming out of Bloodroot Forge, which is a DLC one. So if you don't have the DLC and you want to get all the sets, this is one thing you might want to grab. In addition to that, some people actually do use this in PvP to block off doorways for that initial push, which makes it kind of interesting to see. Not terribly great, but again, there's some builds that will use it. If you have a build that wants to use it, well, now's the week to get that gold jewelry. Now for 100k, you have Engine Guardian, which has fallen out of fashion recently, but it gives you health recovery, and when you use an ability, you have a 10% chance to summon Dwarven Automaton to either give you health, stamina, or magicka every 0.5 seconds for 6.5 seconds. Basically, it super boosts up your resource regeneration. It's probably more useful inside no CP campaigns than CP campaigns, simply because you have so much, you have your champion points acting as your regenerations. It just boosts your regenerations up so high anyways. But this is sometimes used, but not a whole lot. But if you really want to get this, probably easier to run Dark Shade Caverns too to get this. And the boss is super easy, so farming it, not that hard. But the other set here, Beldress Mask, is a DLC set. It's a hard boss that most people don't like running, and it's a PvE and PvP meta. So it's weapon damage, and when you deal damage, you have a 20% chance to summon 3 disease spores in front of you. And after 1 second, they explode for 13k disease damage to the first enemy they hit. That can occur once every 9 seconds. So Gank Blades, any stamina character that's just simply up in your face, will use this and use it pretty effectively. Again, one of those ones, if you don't have ESO Plus, grab it now. If you don't like running that dungeon in general, grab it now for all your alts. You'll be able to get the impenetrable set or impenetrable version for the AP, and the PvE version, even with the infused gear, can still be kind of useful to bump up some of your stats. All right, guys, that's Year of None with your Mundus Minutes. See you on Tamriel or elsewhere.